Third Sunday, I'm front center, looking forward to the playoffs. And I keep me a double wings, cause you know I gotta have it. Yeah, they say I'm just a fan. What? Well, I say I'm a fanatic. And I fast forward commercial too. I ain't going to the bathroom. You know where I'm at, I ain't hard to find. You can catch me in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. You are now in the lab room. You know what that game looked like? Oh, before I start, Packers get the win 10-3 over the Chicago Bears. Yes, 10-3. No, this was not a preseason game. However, speaking of preseason, you know what this looked like? Two teams that haven't played their starters in the preseason. Thank God for the preseason, man. They're trying to get rid of it, trying to shorten it to 2 games, trying to do away with it altogether. 18-game schedule. Sounds good in theory. All right. Adds more revenue for the players. All right. Takes away meaningless preseason games. I talked about this on my podcast. I said, man, a lot of teams shitting on the preseason, acting like that shit don't matter. Like you can just show up and play football. It's just football, right? We can get all this stuff done in practice, right? Right? I said, man, Mitchell Trubisky, MVP Mitchell Trubisky. Yep. A lot of people putting down money, cold, hard cash on Mitch ass to win MVP. And boy, Matt Nagy must be drinking that goddamn sauce, man. That syrup must be good. Because his ass thought it was okay to not play Mitchell Trubisky. And the rest of the damn Bears starters, the entire preseason, no work. Hey, we gonna just practice. Practice? We talking about practice. Not a game, but practice. Yeah, a lot of damn practice and no game reps. And you think you just gonna show up and show out on Thursday Night Football. Okay, Packers. Same guy. I'm not letting them off the hook because they won the game 10-3. Aaron Rodgers looked like shit. That Packers offense looked like shit. That defense looked much better. But damn, the Bears helped them out with that as well, with all them damn penalties. I've never seen 1st and 40 in my life. But that's no here nor there. At least they planned to play their starters at points in the preseason. Aaron Rodgers back tightened up. I get it. That's preseason game number 2. The third preseason game, you want to go over to Canada. That field was some shit. You said, nah, I'm not putting my players on that. I get it. All right? At least they attempted. But no, the Bears thought it was okay to just skip out on the whole preseason. To hell with it. We going to practice. We'll be good. Okay, well, take this goddamn loss at the crib then. Since you think it's okay to not play in the preseason, to not put your guys on the field, to think that you can just show up and play football. Take this goddamn L at the crib. You think you're going to win a division looking like that? Okay. And a lot of people, and I know it's just one game. And look, I have the Packers being a good football team. I have them winning the division, as I always do. All right, nothing's changed. And I actually feel bad, and I smacked the shit out of myself earlier because I went against the bad man. And he wasn't all that. He was a bad boy tonight. He wasn't a bad man. He was a bad boy tonight. All right? The kind you slap on the wrist. That's a no-no. He was a bad boy tonight. He wasn't a bad man. A bad man, you can't touch him. Unless you want your ass beat. A bad boy, you slap him on the wrist. That's a no-no. Don't do that again. He wasn't a bad man tonight, but it was enough. Why? Because the defense was legit. I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of players stood out for me tonight on both sides. Okay? Both teams. Now, individual units weren't all that great. You could argue that both defenses played really well, but that's because the offenses looked like trash for both sides. And that's because they didn't get any work. Okay? So, we'll get into that a little bit later, but I do want to first extend a big congratulations to the Packers for getting a win 10-3. It's not easy to go into the Bears' mouth and into the Bears' den and cave and come out with the victory, especially on the first opening night of the season. I'm going to tell you right now, that crowd was electric. I was jealous when they brought the 85 Bears out and they waved the towels, and I could feel that pulsating through my veins. I could feel the energy from that crowd. I looked at my girl and I said, man, I wish the the Redskins had a stadium environment like that. We haven't had that since 2012 with Robert Griffin III. Even in 2015 when Kirk was taking us on that magic carpet ride of You Like That, we didn't have that environment. That was 2012 Dallas Cowboys Week 17-esque right there. That had sent chills down my spine. So the atmosphere was electric. The Bears came out defensively and dominated on the first couple of possessions. Really, the entire first quarter, the Bears were dominant. The Packers put forth a historically bad first quarter in terms of going backwards. They had negative yards in the first quarter at one point. And so you had Leonard Floyd coming out and dominating. Khalil Mack showing you why he was paid all of that money a year ago. And they were dominant. Roquan Smith took over the first possession, threw that shit in the trash can, all right, blew some stuff up. They were dominant defensively. And they had me saying, Vic, who? But then I realized to myself, it's still not the same, man. How many times did we see soft zone coverages give up easy plays? Devontae Adams comes limping off the field, and Chuck Pagano thinks it's okay to play soft-ass coverage and allow Trevor Davis to catch like a 21-yard pass when the Packers are backed up on their own goal line on 2nd and like 10 from their own 7? That's cool to you? To play soft-ass zone coverage and allow him to run and hook up in the zone 14 yards down the field with nobody in sight? That's cool? Anyway, I digress, man. Offenses looked like offenses that hadn't played together the entire preseason. Meanwhile, the defenses I thought were good. They weren't great, all right? But when the Packers needed a stop, let me talk about some of these individual players because the Packers defensively looked different. Now, again, credit some of that to the Bears. The Bears weren't sharp. Mitchell Trubisky wasn't sharp. They looked the part of a team that needed more work. However, the Packers played some good ball on the defensive side of the football. Up front, okay, the two Smiths that they signed in free agency, look, those guys stepped up when the game was on the line. Zadarius Smith with a pressure in Mitchell Trubisky's face to force him to throw the football errantly over the middle of the field. And then on 4th down, when you had to have it, Preston Smith with a beautiful twist inside to get to Mitchell Trubisky and get the sack and put the game on ice. So your two free agents that you spent a boatload of money on to get to the quarterback did exactly that in the waning moments of this football game when you needed it and you had to have it. They provided it for you. You look at that second. The thing that impressed me the most with the Packers defensively was the secondary, though. That secondary is a beautiful blend of young, talented football players and a wily vet in Adrian Amos. That secondary looks like it's going to be good for years to come. Kevin King should have had a pick early in the game. Man, you can't tell me Jair Alexander doesn't look like he's a baller. Like he's not ready to assume the mantle of one of the better young corners in the game. Like he looks the part. Everything that we thought he was coming out of Louisville, he looks the part. All right. And then you just add in another guy that I loved coming out of Maryland at the safety position in Savage. And all of a sudden that secondary looks legit. Legit, man. Really impressed with what I saw from that secondary the entire night. Despite A-Rob going off for a buck and some change, I thought the secondary was lights out for the Packers for the most part on the night. As I mentioned, the edge rushers stepped up, made some plays for them when they had to have it. Offensively, Valdez Scantling had some big plays in the passing game. They're going to need someone to step up opposite of Devontae Adams, and it was good to see someone else step up and do that. Even the touchdown pass Aaron Rodgers threw, that was some bullshit. Aaron Rodgers just threw that shit up for grabs, and Jimmy Graham went and said, give me that. You don't know what to do with that. Let me get that. Jimmy Graham, he's a man. He went up and showed he was a man, snatched that out, had a flashback from like 2012 in New Orleans and went and got that thing. That wasn't a beautiful throw. That wasn't a great decision. Rodgers literally threw that up for grabs in a sea of Bears. The one guy that could make a play for him made a play for him. That was not a smart decision. That was not a great throw. And I almost puked in my mouth when I heard, and you know, I'm a Chris Collinsworth guy. I know a lot of you can't stand Chris Collinsworth ass. I love Chris Collinsworth. Okay, love is a strong word. I like Chris Collinsworth on the telecast But to sit there and give Aaron Rodgers credit for that bullshit, don't do it. That was exactly what it was, some bullshit that he got away with. All right. Neither team was sharp offensively. Neither team. I thought the play calling on both sides was sketchy at best. The running game for both teams, suspect. And both quarterbacks were okay at best. And honestly, Mitchell Trubisky was bad. I was not impressed with Mitchell Trubisky at all in this football game. I thought he left some throws out there on the field. Thought that he was a little antsy in the pocket at times. I thought there were opportunities for him to run when he should have run, and he didn't. But at the end of the day, the interception in the end zone to Adrian Amos was a bad decision, bad throw. If it's fourth down, that's okay. You got to do something. You got to have it. That was third down. You still had another down. That's an inexcusable throw, and you can't do that. Missed some guys late in the game on that final possession, but he was under duress that entire possession for the most part. Just not a really good night for him overall. Not impressed with what I saw from him, the offense. They looked out of sync. And again, that goes back to my original point of no preseason. But when you look at some of the guys that stood out for me on that side of the football, obviously I won't call myself a homer, but I tried to tell everybody that would listen, David Montgomery is legit. He looks legit. He looks the part. He needs more touches. He needs more opportunities. Hey, Mike Davis is cool, but he's not David Montgomery. All right, let's get Montgomery in the game a little bit more, give him some more opportunities to make some plays. Thought he looked really good. I thought A-Rob looked good. Okay, now a second year removed from the surgery, he looks ready to explode this year. They're going to need him to make some plays, and he made a lot of plays tonight. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but he was a standout at the receiver position, and they're going to need him to produce at a high level for them to be successful on the offensive side of the football. They definitely missed Trey Burton tonight at the tight end position. They didn't get enough out of Adam Shaheen at tight end, but nonetheless, those were guys that stuck out for me on the offensive side of the football. Defensively, I thought it was a really solid effort by the defense, man. I mean, you give up 10 points to the Green Bay Packers despite a new offense under Matt LaFleur that they really didn't get to showcase in the preseason, and a lot of young targets around on that Packers offense. I don't care. You went out there and you held Aaron Rodgers and that offense to 10 points. That's supposed to be good enough to win 10 times out of 10. Not 9, not 8, not 7. 10 times out of 10, that's supposed to be good enough to win. And unfortunately, the offense was so bad that it wasn't enough. So I'm not going to kill the defense, man. Roquan Smith was all over the football field. You look at that front seven was pretty damn good tonight. You know, the secondary, I thought they were okay. You know, there were some times where, you know, I'm still baffled at some of the play calling. I thought they could have tried to heat up Aaron Rodgers a little bit more. They just felt like they could get there with 4, and they got a legit pass rush. Obviously, Gumby was outstanding tonight. I think he had 2 sacks, if not 2, a sack and a half. Had an opportunity to recover a fumble of Aaron Rodgers. Didn't do that. I think it was a penalty on the Bears on that play anyway that would have negated it, or it might have been on the Packers. Either way, that was an opportunity missed there on the forced fumble by HaHa Clinton-Dix. But all in all, the Bears defensively did enough to win. They just didn't do enough on the offensive side. You know, penalties killed them in this game. Missed opportunities killed them in this game. And they lose at home, you know, in a game where this could come back to haunt you at the end of the season when you look up at the standings, because now you got to go to Lambeau and try to go get one late in the season. And that's going to be tough. Going to be tough for a team. And I talked about this during my breakdown and on my podcast. I want to see what the Bears do for an encore. It's easy to sneak up on teams when they're not expecting you. It's another thing when everyone's telling you you're good, expectations are high. How do you respond? I said I want an encore. That's not what we got tonight from Matt Nagy and company in Chicago. It's only one game. It was a sloppy one, but it's only one game. Doesn't count for more than one. You're 0-1. We'll see how they bounce back in week 2. If you're the Packers, you're elated. And I talked about this. This is the reason I had the Packers winning this division. The next 5 out of 6 are at Lambeau. It is a scheduling quirk, the likes of which I've never seen before. I've never seen a team play 5 out of 6 games at the crib. That's what the Packers are about to embark upon. All right. one game on the road against Dallas in like week 4. The rest of their games until like week 9 are at Lambeau. Okay? The Packers are about to get some home cooking. So, they got a chance to clean up. And this was one that I counted as a loss. Well, they turned it into a win. And if they take care of business, if they turn Lambeau Field back into a home field environment that is tough for opposing teams to come into and win, then they could easily get off to a 6-1, a 5-2 start to this season, which would put them, I think, out ahead of the pack in the NFC North, which I think is going to be an ultra competitive division in 2019. Let's get to some of your comments. And there really isn't much to say here. I got in front of the TV, as excited as can be. Woo! 2019 season getting underway. And by the end of the game, I was like, woo, 2019 season. Yay. I mean, that game was so boring, it could have put you to sleep. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, and I'm gonna open up the phone lines here in a second. I'm gonna lay down some ground rules for the phone lines, but let me first pull up we're gonna pull up the comment section, and I'm gonna make sure I read some comments, and then I'm gonna open up the phone lines to you guys so you can have at it. And then I'm gonna lay down these ground rules. So let's get to the comment section real quick. Hank Midas says, we play the Bears in week 3. What are the Skins going to do against that Bears run D? One thing we're not going to do is we're not going to make this about other teams. We're going to talk about the game tonight and the 2 teams that played in the game tonight. We got plenty of time to talk about the Bears when we get there as Redskins fans. Ali Side says, Bears need to utilize Tariq Cohen more often. He's a big factor why their offense was able to score last year. I couldn't agree with you more. I think they need to get their playmakers. See, this is the thing. This is what happens when your coach feels like he has so many weapons that he has to get everybody involved. To hell with that. Get your best players involved. All right. Mike Davis, again, you brought him in as a free agent. You like him. He does some good things. That's cool. I want more Montgomery. I want more Tariq Cohen. Those are the guys that are going to be dynamic and make plays for you. End of discussion. All right. There's going to be enough touches to go around to get, Mike Davis his 7 to 8 rushes and another 2 catches out of the backfield. But the guys that are going to make plays for you are David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen out of that backfield. And those guys need to be featured a little bit more, if you ask me. Let's see. Atlas says, man, Trubisky is just bad. They passed on Watson and Mahomes for that. See, now that I won't subscribe to tonight. I won't allow you guys to brag on Mitchell Trubisky tonight and start trying to have revisionist history about who the Bears could have selected. Mitchell Trubisky was really good last year. You saw the numbers during the telecast tonight. And he took his team not only to a 12-4 record, but he got them to the playoffs in a home playoff game and won the division last year. Like, let's not do that. Let's not make one game a referendum on Mitchell Trubisky. He was not good tonight. I sat here in this very seat last year when you guys tried to kill him in week 1 versus the Packers last year on the road when you tried to tell me he was trash. And I'm like, you weren't watching the same game I was watching because he was really good for like 3 quarters in that game. And then in the 4th quarter, he wasn't. But we're not going to do that tonight. We're not going to sit here and turn this into bash Mitchell Trubisky night because he wasn't the only one that wasn't great tonight. He wasn't great. And I will grant you that. But that's not an indictment on who he is as a football player. Kevin says, I feel like the Packers need a little time in Matt LaFleur's playbook, not taking too much of the first game on offense, not taking too much of it, he says. I agree with you. That's why you need to play in the goddamn preseason. Now, again, some of it was out of their control with, Aaron Rodgers having some tightness in his back in week 2 of the preseason versus the Ravens, and then the 3rd preseason game over in Canada having the issues with the field and not playing your players. But at the end of the day, my whole thing is you got to get some work for your players one way or the other. If that meant playing in the 4th preseason game, 1 possession, so be it. But something needed to be done there. This was sloppy on both ends. Reese says, I can't believe I saw a coaching performance like that from Mike Pettin. Mike Pettin can coach up defense. You say what you want about Mike Pettin as a head coach. Mike Pettin can coach up some defense. All right. He did it in Cleveland, and he's doing it now. And I talked about all offseason how he's got pieces now. All right. The year one in Green Bay wasn't great, but he didn't have a lot to work with. A lot of older guys, a lot of guys banged up, young guys still trying to learn in that secondary. It's all starting to come together now. It's just 1 week, and I want to see more from this defense, but I was impressed with what I saw tonight. JP says, last boring game I remember was Seattle versus Arizona a couple of years ago. I believe it was from 2016. You're talking about the tied game on a Thursday night, the game in which I think Dick Sherman tore his ACL that night. I think that was in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, it was 16 or 17, like you said. That was a boring game. This was definitely a boring game. And I'm not one of these people that I want to see 45-41. Like, I don't need that to enjoy a football game. I have no problems with 10-3 if it's a hard-hitting defensive struggle in which the defense is dominant and they're just dominating the offense. That's not what tonight was. Tonight was sloppy offense, out-of-sync offense, defenses that were good, but they weren't dominant by any stretch of the imagination. The Bears came out early in this game and looked dominant, but they tapered off. I don't think they got to Aaron Rodgers after the first quarter. I don't think they got to him another time. I'm telling a story because there was a sack on a possession as they started to get into field goal range. And I want to say Aaron Lynch got to him once, and there was another one, I think, later on in the game. So I take that back. I recant that last statement. But neither defense was dominant, that's for sure. JP says, Mitch will be fine. The easiest game to recover from is the very first game of the season, but that Bears defense definitely has some dogs. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. You're going to get some people in the comment section that are just going to kill Mitchell Trubisky. I'm not one of them. Sean Mack says, bro, you know that Collinsworth loves that salty taste of Rodgers, LOL. Yeah, Collinsworth is not just Rodgers. It's any great player in the league. He does that for all of them. Brady, Rodgers, Breeze, just go down the list. Roethlisberger, he does it to all of them. So that won't be the first nor the last time we hear him say some shit where you're going to be like, really, dude? You thought that was a great play? Come on, man, stop. Anyway, Ricky L says, so is Chris Collinsworth your right-hand man now? No, that's not what I'm saying. I like Chris Collinsworth, more so than a lot of you guys do. I don't love him. That was the wrong choice of words, and I quickly backtrack from that. I like Chris Collinsworth. I like that Sunday night crew. Al Michaels is my dude. I rock with Al. Chris is a nice contrast to Al. I'm fine with that crew. No problems there from me. Reese says, did you feel what I felt? This counted. The game we all adore is so much is back, he says. Yeah, that one counted. It didn't feel like it counted, though, at times. It felt preseason-ish. Like at points, I'm like, this feels like third preseason game. Are these dudes coming back out for the second half? It felt like third preseason game to me. And that's what happens when you don't get any work in the preseason. But that's just me. That's just me. So, anyway, Reese says, I'd rather have 2 Joe Bucks in the booth and one as a sideline reporter than one Chris Collinsworth. I knew when I made the Chris Collinsworth comment that was going to really invoke some emotion out of you guys because I know a lot of you guys don't love Chris Collinsworth. But like I said, I'm not going to allow you guys to lambast him tonight. Sean Mack says, Packers play 5 of the next 6 at home. Talk about the NFL trying to rig it to get Green Bay in the playoffs, LOL. I talked about this during the NFC North schedule breakdown. I talked about that quirk, and that's why I have the Packers winning the division because 5 out of 6 at home gives them a chance to get off to a great start. And again, I counted this as a loss when I did the schedule. They went out and won this game. They got a chance to get out into a really, really good start in this football game. Buck Nation says, Bears offense will hurt them all year outside of Robinson III and Cohen. Meh. You know what? They've got to be better. I think they've got more. First of all, my biggest gripe is how many targets did my man from Memphis have in this game? All right, Anthony Miller. How many targets? I think I counted one at the very end of the game when they needed it. He threw it to Miller and airmailed it when he had him over the middle of the football field on the seam ball. Look, I could be wrong, but I thought that was the only target for Anthony Miller the entire game. Mitchell Trubisky threw it 45, 46 times, somewhere in that vicinity. And you telling me you only had one target for Anthony Miller? Again, I could be wrong. I don't need Adam Shaheen to get 7 targets. I'm good. Thanks, but no thanks. All right? I'd really like to see Anthony Miller more involved. But again, maybe I missed something. He might have got 3 more targets and I just missed them. I just thought that was the only time I seen the ball thrown his way. So it is what it is. Anyhow, I'm gonna open up the phone lines now. Let me set some ground rules. I'm gonna still read comments in between calls if I get any calls. You know, y'all might go gun shy on me and not call in, and that's fine. I'll just continue to read from the comment section. But all right, let me lay out a couple of ground rules. One, we're gonna stick to the topic of the game at hand. We're not talking about your favorite team. We're not talking about anybody else's team. We're talking about the 2 teams that played tonight. We're talking about the game that took place tonight. All right. Anything else, I'm going to cut you off and I'm going to redirect you back on course. All right. Number 2, we got to keep these calls brief. I want to get as many callers in as possible. 3 minutes or less. All right. We're not doing these marathon calls where you feel like you need to air out your entire game summary. Give me the best of what you got and let's move on so we can get to some more callers. So those are the ground rules. All right. If you want to call in, phone lines are now open. Here's the number. Knock yourself out. If you want to call in, have at it. All right. We can have a discussion. I'll move the speaker over. If you hear a little bit of noise, that's me moving the speaker over to accommodate the calls that may come in. So mic is adjusted. Sorry for that little bit of noise that you might have heard. That was me moving the mic. All right. So now phone lines are open. I'm getting back to the comment section though. All right. Ricky L says, sad thing is I've seen better games from Jags Titans when they both suck. It was a rough one on the eyes, especially when you're this amped up for real football to get. And let me say this: the NFL has delivered time and time again, especially opening weekend is the one time they don't always deliver. There's been times where we've seen. I remember when the Patriots played the Steelers one year, I was like, man, that was a boring game. I got a call, though. I'm going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? All right. Somebody got cold feet on me. So that call is dead. So anyway, back to the comment section. The NFL has delivered for us, but this first game can be a dud. We've seen it in the past. I remember a New England game against the Dolphins was trash. I remember a New England game versus the Steelers like 2-3 years ago was trash. So it's not uncommon to have these games not live up to the hype. But this one was really, really, really boring. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Yo, this is the Mister. What's going on, Lou?
What's going on, Mister?
What's going on? First of all, man, let me say thanks for taking care of me earlier today. I almost got lost in the sauce and everything, brother. So thanks for looking out for me a little bit earlier today, man.
Hey, it's all good, man. I was just glad you was able to get in for the deadline, man.
All right, thanks, though, brother. Not to mention, I want to know for tonight. But speaking of tonight, I wanted to talk about. First of all, do you think that was 2 things I want to touch on tonight in terms of the Bears? Mm-hmm. Do you think that the Bears defense, because they look pretty stout, like they haven't really lost their touch from last season, or at least that's how they started. But do you believe that they're gonna that they'll bail on Trubisky and the Bears on that offense based off the way they're playing, kind of similar to the way that Jags defense did to the Bortles like last year? Because trust me when I tell you, that Jags defense is coming back Sunday. You're gonna see.
I believe in that Jags defense this year as well. But to answer your question, no, they're not gonna bail on him because the thing with Trubisky is he's young. Like last year with Bortles, remember he was on that second deal. They had just given him a new contract, but they had seen 3-4 years of bad Bortles. They had 1 good year of Bortles, and the rest was all bad. So they had gotten to a point with him like, look, man, either you show and prove or we got to get you the hell out of here. with Trubisky, I mean, last year was his first year starting. The man took him to 12-4. He was outstanding last year at times. I mean, he had the game against Tampa Bay. He threw 6 touchdown passes. I mean, he's been really good at times. This was not one of his better performances, but Mitchell Trubisky is going to be just fine. I don't see this defense turning their back on him at all.
Okay, true. Now, let me say this last thing before I got in here. I know you got other calls coming in.
All right.
That Packers defense, it is improved. I liked what I saw tonight, but, people are rusty that first week coming out the gate.
Right.
They are improved, but that is not going to be a great defense because a really good quarterback played tonight. They've had a lot of holes. They could have easily gave up 24 points tonight. They are improved, and they do seem like they're kind of sound, but I still think that, they're going to be a little bit shaky a little bit, but I'm going to give them credit. So I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say, hey, go Falcons, rise up, because we are winning this Sunday. Lou, you bailed out on us again this year, but it's cool.
I did, man.
But we coming back.
All right, we're going to see. You got a big one on the road this week, man. But, hey, I appreciate you chiming in, man. Have a good one.
All right, thanks, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Sound good. All right, so I agree with him on this Packers defense. I'm not totally sold. I was impressed with what I saw, but, again, like he said, a better offense with more poise and better quarterback play and more synchronicity. I think you probably see a team score, 17, 20, 24 points tonight. There were opportunities for sure out there. So I agree with the mister on that there were opportunities that were missed by the Bears tonight. And so although I was impressed with the Packers defense, as I mentioned, there were opportunities for the Bears to take advantage of, and they just simply did not. I fast forward through all the commercials, Ree. I'm sorry. So I didn't see the Thursday night commercial with your boys in it. So I apologize for that. But I got to call him and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Louie T, this is JP. What's going on, man?
What's going on, JP?
I'm doing good. Listen, man, I gotta lay it into you about this game, man. This game was just straight up ass. I'm not gonna lie, but you know what? Teams always start off really slow. You know what I mean? This is the first week. Everybody's, kind of getting back into a rhythm. Not everybody's in football shape yet. Give the Bears some time.
Look, you were big on the Bears last year, and you were one of the few, if not the only, that predicted the Bears would win the division last year. So I told it, look, I don't think the Bears are going to be a bad football team. And I'm not. This is not an indictment on them, but this is more of an indictment of the way they handled the preseason. And I'm going to stick steadfast to that. I'm a believer that you need at least one game, a few series in the preseason to get in sync. They just punted on the entire preseason, and that looked like a team that punted on the preseason from an offensive perspective.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know what? I see a lot. I was listening. I've been watching the comments. I've been reading the comments most of the night. I see a lot of people that were very, very annoyed with Trubisky. Some people are calling Trubisky's trash, suck Trubisky or whatever. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to give the kid a break. I'm still confident. I think this kid could have a really good season. The problem is they didn't really get I watched most of this game. They didn't really get the run game going to take the pressure off him. If you can get the run game going, you put attention on David Montgomery in that back and Tariq Cohen in that backfield. That's going to open up the passing game a little bit. And yeah, Allen Robinson did have a good game. I think a couple other guys had a good game. They didn't really get much out of their tight end group. But you know what? I'm not going to get upset about Mitch Trubisky. The thing is, these offensive teams usually start off slow, like the first couple weeks of the season. I would not be surprised these first couple weeks that offenses like the Rams and the Chiefs and teams of that and maybe the Eagles or things of that nature with really good offensive playmakers and quarterbacks, that they start off slow. I mean, people are getting back into football shape. I'm not going to get into that. I do want to ask you this question, though. I watched a little bit. Also, before I get to the questions, I have to admit I was very bullish on the Packers being a good team. That defense was pretty good. David Bakari had a pretty good game. I thought the corners had a good game. Jair Alexander looks like a baller. Preston Smith, God bless Preston Smith. Yeah. For the years that we had him, that the Redskins had him in Washington, I know he's going to make that defense a bit much better. I'm still bullish on the Packers defense, but I liked what I saw tonight. Aaron Rodgers, he wasn't the bad man, but he was more, like you said, he was a bad boy.
Yeah.
But that defense definitely looks much improved. I'm not going to say they're going to be the best defense in football. I'm just saying that they're going to be improved.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm going to stop you right there, JP, so I can get to some more callers. But I'm going to take one of your comments off the air here because there's something I want to expound upon. But, hey, man, appreciate you calling in.
All right, thank you, Lou. Have a good night.
No doubt. So he talked about the run game, and I agree with him wholeheartedly there that this is something that always bothers me with Matt Nagy. I don't think, and a lot of times there were people out there that thought they shouldn't have gotten rid of my man Jordan Howard. I know my man Sean Mack is a huge proponent of Jordan Howard still being in Chicago. My biggest gripe with Matt Nagy at times is that he gets away from the run game. And he's too creative, and he wants to be so innovative. And like the first play of the game, and I don't have any problems with that. They come out in a little shift, a little formational shift and whatnot. But he tries to get too cute sometimes for his own good. But they had, I think, the most carries anybody had on their team was 5 with Mike Davis tonight. That's just not enough touches on the ground, and it's too spread out, and it's too many different guys shuffling in and out. It's just too much going on, especially for a team that didn't gel and mesh during the preseason, that didn't get any reps together in the preseason. Just thought it was this offensive display lacked cohesion tonight. It just seemed like it was scatterbrained. I saw way too much of Mike Davis. God bless Mike Davis. I just saw way too much of him. Got to call him and go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Touches on the ground. Yo. And it's too
How you doing? You got a lot of noise in the background, bro.
Yo, Louie, it's your boy Trey.
What's going on?
Hey, you gotta tell me, the Packers gotta feel about those free agent signings. Meet the Smiths got 2.5 sacks. Amos with the pick. Like they're balling, bro. It's the first game, but they can play.
I was impressed. Like I said, it's the first game, as you mentioned, and as we've talked about all night. But we've seen this Packers defense struggle. It don't matter week 1, week 5, week 12. They struggled. They didn't struggle tonight. And we could talk about the lack of cohesion and Mitchell Trubisky looking out of sync, but you got to give the Packers defense credit. They forced a lot of that too. That was an impressive performance by the Packers defensively. And again, it was money that we didn't know if it was well spent in the offseason. I was a fan of all the moves they made. Adrian Amos, obviously coming over from Chicago. You weaken a division rival, add to your team, and then you look at both of the Smiths that you spent money on. I thought they were really good moves. And in week 1, we can't say that this will be the case 6 weeks from now, but in week 1, it's panning out right now.
And one more thing, Louie. Did you notice last season, the week 1 opener, Packers-Bears ended on a Nick Perry sack, and this year, coincidentally, it ends with another sack of Mitchell Trubisky, Preston Smith coming through.
I did not remember that. I didn't remember Nick Perry getting the sack. The thing that the play that stuck out in my mind was the dropped interception by Kyle Fuller. That was the thing that I remember, and then I remember Aaron Rodgers hitting Randall Cobb on the slant over the middle of the field and him just hauling ass. That's what sticks out in my mind. But that's a good recall by you. Both games ending in a sack. That was big time right there by the Packers defense.
Yeah, Louie. One last thing, Louie.
Yep.
If the Packers have at least a top 10 defense, it doesn't got to be top 5, none of that, but a top 10 defense. Give the offense a little help because it's always been an offense-driven team. You think they can go deep into the playoffs?
Absolutely. They got number 12 back there. Anytime you have a guy on your football team, the likes of Aaron Rodgers, a 2-time MVP, anything's possible, especially if you get help from the other side of the football. He's a lot of times had to try to do it by himself on the offensive side. If he gets help from the defense, it just makes him that much more dangerous. The only thing I question is, can we get consistent play out of the other guys not named Devontae Adams on that offense? That's the only question I have.
Marquez had that big catch.
He did. He actually had a really good night overall, period. He was good. He was really good.
If they can get in rhythm, Marquez can be he ran a 4.3.
I mean, dude can run. The dude can run. There's no denying that. And he looked good tonight. So we'll see if they can continue to get production out of other guys not named Devontae Adams? Because we already know what Devontae Adams is about.
I'm calling it now. Jair Alexander, top 10 corner, top 10. Jair this season, by the end of the season, Jair Alexander, he's a baller.
I see it, bro. I see it. Clear as day. These eyes do not lie. I see it already, man. I see it, Trey. Hey, I appreciate you calling in, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, take it easy, Luke.
Yep. I see it, man. I mean, anybody that watched this game, and it's not just this game, but we saw it in college. We saw flashes of it last year. He looks like he's ready, man. I mean, Jair Alexander looks like he's ready to do damage in 2019. This was a good start for him in this football game. Let's get back to the comment section. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Ed says, as a Bears fan, I'm upset, but I think we'll bounce back. You should be upset, but I do think you're going to bounce back as well. Got a call, going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
What it do, Lou? It's the Black L.A.B, man.
What's going on, Black L.A.B?
What's up, man? What's going on with you?
Nothing much, man. Talking about this Thursday night season opener in your division, family business. You know how the family do it.
Yeah, you already know. I know how the family do it. That's why I tuned in. I was at work. Caught majority of the game. My comments are, I know it's week one. Everybody know week one is basically a preseason game, so you can't really judge too much from everything you see. But the biggest takeaways I got from the game is that Trubisky is Mitchell Trubisky. His mother named him Mitchell. I'm going to call him Mitchell.
I'm going to call him Mitchell, man.
Mitchell Trubisky. He's still looking at receivers. He's still looking at where he's throwing the ball.
Right. Yeah.
I see that being a big problem with him in his game. That's how Amos was able to read him because he played on the same team as him.
Right.
He practiced against him, so he knew that coming a mile away.
Yeah.
He baited them, looked off to his left or to his right rather, and then just played the ball. So I noticed that with Mitchell.
I mean, and that was several times throughout the night. I mean, he had a couple of passes batted straight in the air that could have easily been picked off if guys were in the right spots. I mean, he threw into some contested areas, and he stared down receivers, which gave guys a chance to break on footballs. I was not impressed with Mitchell Trubisky at all tonight. I wasn't.
And there's also a pass I seen. I can't remember if it was in the first quarter or early second quarter. They were driving in the red zone, and he had a breaking out route to a receiver, and he just straight sailed it. Like, I'm looking at it like, really, Mitchell, you're supposed to be, because I done heard people picking the Bears to go to the Super Bowl. If you was a Super Bowl type team, you need to play Super Bowl type quarterbacking. You know what I'm saying? That's just a pass that just seems like a routine pass that damn near any quarterback can make in the league. So I don't know. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I don't know if Mitchell is regressing as a quarterback, but I've seen it happen. Who knows? It could be the pressure of everybody talking about Super Bowl this and Super Bowl that could be happening.
Yeah, I just think it was just a guy that was out of sync. They didn't get any work with live bullets in the preseason. Everybody want to poo-poo the preseason. It's there for a reason, man. It's there for you to try to work some of these kinks out so that you don't look like this come week one. Unfortunately, they didn't take advantage of that opportunity, and then this in effect, like you said, turned into a preseason game for them.
Well, you understand why people do that. The Grim Reaper is the injury Reaper is a bitch, man.
I totally understand. He's real.
He's trying to stay away from that too.
He's real, but it's football, bro. I mean, if you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be out here keeping dudes in bubble wrap and then want to take the bubble wrap off in week one and think they're not gonna look like they just had bubble wrap on for the last 6 months. Like, that's what's been going on. So
yeah, but people don't want to show up to the table with all their chips.
Hey, look, man, like I always say,
before they get to the table.
Hey, I always say, I just want to get to the starting gate with all my horses lined up, man. That's it. So I get it from one standpoint, but on the other, it's football, man. You gotta give these guys some reps and some snaps out here, and they didn't, and they look like a team that didn't have any rust knocked off yet. So yeah, it is.
And I wanted to bring up, I seen as soon as the Packers got that winning drive on defense, they showed Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur over there slurping each other. like they just won the biggest game of their life.
Yeah, because nobody gave him a chance in this game. I think I saw Rodgers push. He pushed the defensive coordinator Mike Patton. Like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because nobody gave him a chance. I never bet against Aaron Rodgers. I bet against him tonight. I didn't think this was a good spot for them, and they proved me wrong.
Right.
So it is what it is. Hey man, Black L.B, appreciate you chiming in, bro. As always.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one.
I'll let you.
Yep.
Go.
So this was a big win for the Packers, man. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I never go against the Packers. I went against them against my better judgment because I said I don't like this spot. On the road, hostile environment. That crowd was juiced. After that first possession, when that defense went out and dominated, that crowd was deafening. And the offense put them to sleep. Offense put them to sleep tonight. Let's see. Sean Mack. Oh, my goodness. I just skipped over a whole bunch of comments. Here we go. Sean Mack says, Mike Patton never got a fair chance as my Browns head coach. Also, remember, he had our defense ranked 8th and 10th in defense in his tenure with my Browns. Look, I already said Mike Patton can coach up some defense. He did it in New York with the Jets. He did it with your Browns. Everywhere he goes, quality defense follows. It was never a matter of this man coaching defense. It was, can he be a head coach? I didn't think he got a fair shake. It was one and done in Cleveland. They were going through some transitions there, and he didn't get a fair shake, but I like the man's ability to coach up defense. Got a call, going to go ahead and take it. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
Ricky O.
What's up, Rick? Rick, you there?
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
Nothing.
All right, talk to me about this game tonight, man.
I think it just came down. I want to talk about. I'm not trusting Packers defense.
Okay.
It's week one. I do trust Bears defense. They're battle tested. They've been there. They know.
Rick, you got a bad line over there, Rick. You breaking up on me, bro. We're gonna have to do that one again some other time. Nick Riley says Packers were out there making Allen Robinson look like he was back in 2015. He getting back on them sea legs under him. Remember, that first year after you come back from surgery, major knee surgery, you're still trying to work your way back. You're not the same guy. Not everybody is Adrian Peterson, where you just come back the next year like game busters. Normally, it takes that 1 full year to get back to feeling like your normal self, and then that following year, you go back to dominating. And so you see a guy in Allen Robinson starting to smell himself again, which is a good thing if you're a Bears fan. Reese says, Preston Smith can play, Lou. Dude made some plays. I've always liked P. Boogie. All right, I've always liked Preston Smith. A lot of Redskins fans didn't like the fact that he would get pressure but wouldn't get to the quarterback. There's something to be said about pressure. There's something to be said about being really good in the run game, which Preston Smith was good at both. He just didn't have the sack total that is sexy, that flashes, that people can point at, and like a Ryan Kerrigan who gets routinely double-digit sacks. But to me, a lot of times his impact in the game is minimal. Preston Smith was one of those dudes that just didn't get a lot of credit because he didn't put up gaudy numbers. The same thing I heard with Clowney. When a lot of people, Clowney's overrated. He only had 9.5 sacks. I'm like, bro, are you watching the games or are you just watching numbers? Because the two aren't the same. Numbers and impact on the game aren't the same thing. You got to actually watch what a guy does. Clowney is a guy that makes plays. Oh, just missed a call. We'll see if that person calls back. My man B3 says, oh my God, I hope my Falcons don't look like this in Minnesota. I don't need to see 28-3 in week one. If that happens, I may be on a milk carton. Hey, don't go away from us, man. Even if your team take a L, a nasty one at that, don't run away from us, man. Don't leave us. Hey, you on live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
It's Ricky again.
All right, Rick. Let's hope that this one goes a lot better than the last time.
I went outside, so we should be good.
Okay. You sound much better.
The Bears defense is, I thought they were going to be, go worse because they lost their defensive coordinator, which
Yeah.
they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not trusting the Packers defense at all. I think they just got lucky this week.
And that's fair. I mean, it was 1 week. You don't want to overreact.
It's week one. It's no one really playing in the preseason.
I'm gonna tell you this much though. I wasn't all that impressed with the play calling defensively for the Bears. Like Chuck Pagano, I didn't walk away saying, man, Chuck's gonna be nasty with this defense. It looked like his talent made him look good tonight, not the other way around. And I thought there were some situations where I thought he could have switched it up and maybe tried to heat up Aaron Rodgers, and he didn't. Some soft zone coverages. That one possession is stuck in my craw where you got them backed up 2nd and 10, like their own 11. You force a punt here. Your offense is struggling. You need to get off the field and force them to punt from their own end zone to try to get great field position. And I want to say this too. Their punter. He had a punt where he flipped the field position. I think it was J.K. Scott is their punter. Punted the shit out of football. It had to travel every bit of 65, 70 yards in the air. Tariq Cohen went running backwards.
15 to the 11.
Exactly. You're talking about damn near 80 yards right there. Ridiculous. All right. So that he was outstanding as well. So I got to give credit where credit's due. We don't give enough credit and love to these punters for doing their job. And J.K. Scott was outstanding tonight. That kick literally flipped field position. And then on top of that, Tariq Cohen, I think they had a holding penalty. So that knocked them back deep into their own territory. Like I said, it was a good night for the Packers all the way around. It's a team victory for sure.
And everyone's going off on Trubisky when Aaron Rodgers really didn't have that good of a game either. He really only had that one touchdown drive, and that was like, since then, that's like when I came home, and I really didn't see anything that I liked.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the show, he wasn't a bad man tonight. He was a bad boy. You know what I mean? Like, he had some moments. Like you said, that one drive was impressive. But outside of that, they moved the ball a couple of times, and then he took some ill-advised sacks, which is un-Rodgers-esque. But outside of that, I told you, Aaron Rodgers wasn't all that impressive. But again, I chalked that up to lack of playing time in the preseason. And they're in a new scheme, so they definitely needed work out there on the football field in the preseason. So I agree with you too, Rick, on that as well, man. Hey, I appreciate you chiming in. And way to go outside and get better connection, man. Big ups to you for that. All right, Rick. Be easy.
All right, are you ready to catch us all on Sunday?
I'm not, but I'm prepared. I'm mentally prepared.
Okay, bro. I'll see you later.
Be easy. JP says, one thing fans need to remember is that most offenses struggle the first week or two of the season. Got to give them some time to get warmed up and into a rhythm. Leo RJSP says, on a sloppy game, Jair was sharp. How you like him, Louie? I talked about him already. I think this guy is poised to break out this season and show that he's one of the better corners, not just in the NFC, but in the entire National Football League. Double A says Trubisky is just Bortles version 2. I can't allow it. I can't sign off on that, man. I can't. You're on live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? All right. We missed that one. That was my boy Nick too. We missed out on that. Hopefully he calls back. Junior 13 says, don't remember Preston Smith being legit and closing the game like that. I know right now they schemed that one up for him. All right, that was him looping inside on a twist. So it's not like he just beat his man straight up. But I don't care. Get to the quarterback. However you get to the quarterback, that was a great job of Preston Smith selling that, getting inside and getting to Mr. Trubisky to put this game on ice. So like you said, I don't remember Preston Smith doing that either in a Washington Redskins uniform. So I'm with you. Let's see. Reese says, refs were handing out penalties tonight like they were Oprah. You get a penalty. You get a flag. You get a flag. Yeah. You're on live with your man Louie T. Who am I speaking with? Hello? I guess this ain't our night. The hookup tonight, I guess. Nick Riley says the star player for the Packers defense was Mitch, and I've seen that just from watching the fourth quarter. Reese says, how in the blue hell has Eric Berry not been signed? That man can still play. You know what? I don't know. That's a good question. I thought someone would sign him towards the end of camp. It never happened. Gregory Lightbody says, Redskins need Mike Pettin. Mr. TNA 2005 says, maybe tonight people learned that Trubisky is overrated. I never got the whole Mitchell Trubisky for MVP movement that got started early in this offseason, but yeah, I won't call him overrated, but the fact that people thought he was ready to take that step and become an MVP candidate it behooved me. I never thought that was the case. Reese says, I almost had a repeat of 2 years ago. A Cat 5 storm passed right by the east coast of Florida. All they had to do was move one notch to the west, and we would have had a direct hit. Lucky. Hey, man, praying for you and your family out there. I know the storm has passed you guys by, but it's I mean, you guys, Florida, I'm always nervous for y'all during hurricane season. I got a lot of family in Florida, and, you know, it's just, Florida is not one of those places you want to be when it's hurricane season because you're right there in the heart of where shit can get torn up quick. And so I'm just glad that storm had mercy on you guys and was able to miss you, and that you're here able to chop it up with us. And I'm glad to hear that, man. I always say living in VA, I'm very fortunate. We don't ever get the brunt of any storm. By the time storms get to us, it's either Cat 1 or a tropical storm. And so I feel really confident that we're supposed to have some inclement weather over the next couple of days. But I feel confident that at worst it'll just be rain. Nothing more, nothing less. So Cody Smith says, just joined the stream, broski. Thought it was fitting that P. Smith made the game-saving sack. He did it for us a couple years back in 2016, I think, when he sacked Bradford against Minnesota. I thought he did it also. Yes, I remember that game. You're right. At home against Minnesota, Vikings were trying to come back late in that ball game, and I remember he got the sack to put it away. You're absolutely right. Mr. TNA 2005 says, why are people underrating your Skins defense and think they will get massacred against the Eagles? Because our offense isn't good. That's why. Our defense isn't the issue. It's the offense. JP says, if there's anyone in the comment who is a fan of defense, then this was the game for you. I'm about balanced offense and defensive games instead of defensive slugfest or high-scoring games. So that is it. No more calls. No more comments. This was a great start in terms of participation from you guys. But we've hit our hour deadline here on the show. Not the most entertaining start to the season, but the season has started nonetheless. Celebrate! We get a full slate of games on Sunday. Man, it feels good to be back. But this is not the way I envisioned us coming back. I thought we would have a little bit more production from the offenses and a little bit more flow and tempo to the game. Both teams struggled in that department. You know, there was really no rhythm offensively for either team. And again, I know I sound like a broken record. I'm going to continue to harp on this. I've talked about it on my podcast ad nauseum. I'm going to continue to harp on this. And if teams look sloppy in week one, and the team, I'm going to kill the teams. And I said this before the season started. I am going to absolutely shred the teams that treated the preseason like Club Med. The teams that decided to take a massive dump on the preseason and say, you know what, I'm not playing any of my guys. And just like Black L.A.B said, if you're worried about guys getting hurt, guys can get hurt in practice. Guys can get hurt in a walkthrough. Guys can get hurt in week one, first play of the game. All right? You can't put bubble wrap on these guys. It's football. Shit happens. But you need work in the preseason. And if you didn't get work, I'm watching the Rams. I'm talking to you, Los Angeles Rams. You next. Because you took a giant dump on the preseason. And I think you're going to go into Carolina and you're going to lose. Because you decided that scrimmaging in practice, okay, joint practices with the team you're playing in the preseason, you thought that was good enough. Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. In any event, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Damn, it feels good to be back like cook crack. NFL 2019 season underway. Game number 1 in the books. Green Bay Packers go on the road and beat their most hated rivals in the Chicago Bears 10-3 in a snooze fest. But if you're the Packers, sleepy, doesn't matter, creepy, it's a win, it's a dub. You take it, you stack it up like bricks in the left-hand corner and column, and you keep it moving. That's what they were able to do tonight. And again, they got 5 out of the next 6 at home. They are not complaining about a damn thing. If you're the Bears, sweep this one under the rug. Chalk this up to being a little bit rusty. Come back out next week. See if you can't get a dub and start trying to get back to what made you a good football team a season ago. So that's it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. New podcast episode will be out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Also, fantasy football episode 2 is coming at you tomorrow as well, so be out on the lookout for that too. All right, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. College football, some big games, LSU, Texas, among others, Clemson, Texas A&M. A lot of college football coming your way, so indulge in that and then get ready and saddle up for some big boy football on Sunday and Monday. You guys have a good one, man. Take care.
Louie T Network.